Okay, so the first couple are do not necessarily require the use of any of these methods. They are rehashing of yesterday's stuff and some problem solving. So the first one, I give you an array. Whoa. I give you an array, and I give you the function, and I say, if the array has a middle element, return the element. If the array does not have a middle element, right? Return a subarray. So return 2, 3. Return both as an array. Problem solved. So how do we know if it has a middle element?
Yeah.
Okay, so length, odd or even. If it's odd, it has a middle, like an element right in the middle. If it's even, it's got 2 elements in the middle. Okay, perfect. How do you figure out if something's odd or even? Odd 2. Right? But then once we do that, now we have to go get these things. Okay, so now you have to go get these things. How do you find the middle? Now, there's like a bunch of different ways to do that. I say there are several ways to do this. You could take a look at a special math function in JavaScript called floor or ceil, but you don't need to. There's a lot of ways you can just brute force it, but you don't need any special fancy methods to do this one. Flip-flops. This time, instead of just taking off the first and the last character, now we're going to write a new function that takes a string and swaps the first and last character. Again, you don't need anything fancy here. Just what you already have. And you're kind of building on. What does that smell? Is that this?
No, I'm sorry.
Are you eating something?
Watermelon.
It smells. Watermelon hand sanitizer. That's exactly what it smells like.
Okay.
Watermelon clean.
Oh.
Right? Flip characters. Front and back. Again, you're piggybacking on the kind of stuff that we did yesterday. Just a little bit more practice. Getting rid of trios. All right. So now, I'm not just asking you to write whatever and say, use the function that you think is best. I'm saying, go use the filter function, take the same thing and rewrite it with the filter function. So actually I did this one in class. So you should have a pretty good idea of how this one goes. And I have a little tip. Remember, because these are things, I have these little tips here because every year students get stuck on the same stuff. You must return the value inside the function to use for filter, otherwise it simply won't work. So you must return true or false. Mega multiply. Write a function that takes an array of numbers, uses map to multiply each number by the previous element's number. This one is interesting. You're going to have to, look up map. Then you're going to have to use some of the features of that to do this. This is a tricky one. Okay? You're not just using it easily. Okay? I'm not just asking you just to, because easy usage is easy. I don't want you to, easy usage, just look at the examples. Try out easy usage. If you don't get it from the documentation, if the documentation doesn't make sense to you, look up, do some Googling. Do some Googling. See if you can figure it out with some Googling. I won't ask you to map some. I never, ever, ever, on any of the future things, like any future assignments, at least in this course, will ask you to specifically use map. But part of being a good developer is knowing what's available and using it. So I might come around and say, why are you doing this? You can just use map. Why are you doing this? You can just use sort. You can just use filter. Right? And I expect you to say, oh yeah, okay, I get it. As opposed to say, I don't know how that works. Okay? So you need to familiarize yourself enough with these things, not necessarily to apply them, but so when someone else is talking about it or you're reading it, you're able to figure it out.
That return shows 1, 2, 6, and 12.
1, 2, 6, 12. 1, well, what's the previous number? Nothing, so you don't multiply it by anything. Unless the previous number is undefined.
Okay.
So the previous number of 1 is undefined, so you don't multiply. 2 times 1 is 2.
Right.
3 times 2 is 6.
Oh, just the
4
one
times
before.
4 times 3 is 12. Find the first prime. Okay. So we've got an array of numbers. You need to do two things. You need to find a number, but you also need to make sure that that number is prime. So find the first number in the array that's prime. Now, what do you do in case an array doesn't have a prime number? I don't care. That's not the goal of this, right? Pretend that every array that you receive has a prime number in it, at least one. Multi-dimensional madness. Write a function that accepts a 2D array. It's just an array, really, right? An array of arrays. And assume all the elements in the array are arrays. Your function should return a number that adds all the elements of this 2D array together. For example, you're writing a function. You're going to write a function that takes this, and outputs this. Oh, sorry. This 3, 4, 7, 17. That outputs 17. Right? Do this. You don't even have to do this. You're outputting 17. All these numbers added together. Right? 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 5. 17. That's what you're doing. This is just iterating over.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 plus 5.
Today, 1, 3, 3 plus 4 is 7. 14. Sorry. Me bad at math. Okay? Next one. This time write the same function as in Q3, I mean Q5, we'll fix that. With one small change, in the first one, we can assume that all of these are arrays. In this one, we don't know if they're arrays. So we need to check each element and ask, are you an array? Using isArray. So you're going to want to look up isArray. that's part of array. And if it is an array, just skip over it and don't include it as part of the sum. So if it's not an array, skip over it. If it is an array, we're adding it, we're including it. So just a small tweak. An introduction of a new concept, is array. Pretty straightforward. Is array is telling you yes or no. Is that thing an array? And then bonus, use the sort method. Go read and use the sort method. And sort this string. You might have to do a little bit of additional research because the documentation on the sort method is pretty heavy. Okay, so you might have to go to another place. Check the documentation, read it over, see if you can figure it out. But if not, go check out Stack Overflow, go check out W3 Schools. Pick knowledge from multiple places, put it together and see if you can make a complete picture that satisfies what you're looking for. Okay? This is really, really important stuff. The important lesson here isn't you need to learn how to use the sort method because you're going to use it all the time. No. That's not the important lesson. Two important lessons: problem solving and research, and teaching yourself, because that is what we do on a very, very frequent basis, daily basis. Okay?